Jace walked through the thick alien forest, his boots sinking into the soft blue moss with every step. The sun above wasn't yellow like Earth's, it was a pale green, making everything around him look strange. Trees twisted into impossible shapes, their leaves humming softly. His ship had crashed only a few hours ago, and now he was trying to find help, or at least a signal. But this planet wasn't on any official map. His helmet flickered. The signal was getting weaker. He cursed under his breath and tapped it. Nothing. No response. Just static. Then he heard it. Wings. Not metal or machine wings. Soft, quiet, like feathers cutting through the wind. Jace froze. He turned slowly. Behind a glowing tree stood a figure, half hidden in shadows. His heart jumped. It wasn't human. She stepped into the light. She had feathers instead of hair, shimmering with shades of gold, blue, and silver. Her skin was smooth and pale, with a soft glow. Two large wings folded neatly behind her back. She wore something like a short tunic, simple but elegant. Her eyes, large and golden, locked onto his. She didn't speak. She just stared. Jace reached for his sidearm, unsure of her intent. But then she raised her hand slowly and placed it on her chest, a peaceful gesture. No weapons, no threat. He relaxed a little. "Who are you?" he asked, though he knew she wouldn't understand English. Still, something passed between them. Her expression shifted. She tilted her head, studying him like he was the strange one. She stepped closer. Jace held his ground. The air between them grew warmer, filled with a strange, sweet scent like flowers and rain. Her wings rustled gently as she moved. She stopped just an arm's length away. Her hand slowly reached out and touched his chest, right where his heart was beating fast. Her fingers were warm, soft. A golden light pulsed from her fingertips and passed into his body. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. Visions flashed through his mind. A nest of glowing eggs, a planet in flames, the sound of wings beating, loneliness, loss, then hope, a man's face, his face. Jace staggered back, gasping. The girl blinked, then stepped away. She looked at him one more time, then turned and leapt into the sky. Her wings spread wide and caught the wind, lifting her high above the trees. In seconds, she was gone. Jace stood there, stunned. What just happened? He looked down at his chest. The place where she touched him still glowed faintly. Was she real? He hurried back to the crash site. The pod was still smoking, half buried in the mud. He climbed inside and locked the hatch. The temperature had dropped. Night was coming fast. He checked the sensors, still no signal. He sat in silence, his thoughts spinning. An alien girl, with feathers, wings. She didn't hurt him. She touched him, showed him something. Was she asking for help, warning him, or something else? Hours passed. He was half asleep when he heard it again, the sound of wings outside the pod. He grabbed his flashlight and opened the hatch carefully. She was there, standing in the moonlight, watching him again. This time, she looked different. Her feathers glowed brighter, and she held something wrapped in soft leaves. She stepped forward, unafraid. Jace opened the hatch fully and stood aside. She entered the pod slowly, looking around. Then she handed him the wrapped bundle. He opened it. Inside was a glowing fruit, bright orange, warm to the touch. His stomach growled. He hadn't eaten since the crash. She gestured for him to eat. He took a bite. The fruit melted in his mouth, sweet, strange, but calming. Almost instantly, his headache vanished. He looked at her, grateful. "Thank you," he whispered. She didn't respond. Instead, she sat beside him, wings folding close. They sat together in silence, two strangers from two worlds. Yet something between them was already forming. Trust, curiosity, or something deeper. Jace didn't know yet. But he knew one thing: this girl wasn't just a creature. She was someone important. And whatever she had shown him in those strange visions, it wasn't over. Not even close. As he drifted into sleep, he didn't see her reach out again and touch his heart once more, this time longer, warmer. Her eyes watched him with something almost human. Then she whispered something in her own language, leaned closer, and disappeared into the night sky. By the time Jace woke up, she was gone. But the warmth on his chest remained, and far away, deep In the forest something had begun to grow under the soil. The sun rose slowly over the alien forest, its green light seeping through the thick mist. Jace opened his eyes with a start. He didn't remember falling asleep, but he felt strangely rested. His chest was still warm, pulsing softly, as if something inside had been changed overnight. He sat up and looked around. The pod was quiet. The fruit she gave him was gone. So was she. He stepped outside. The forest looked the same, yet different, brighter, quieter, too quiet. He scanned the trees, half expecting her to appear again, but there was no sign of her, just a few fallen feathers, still glowing faintly on the moss. He bent down and picked one up. It was soft and warm, like it was still alive. His fingers trembled as he placed it carefully in his jacket. Jace knew he should contact the base, report the crash, report her, but a part of him didn't want to. He didn't want anyone else to know, not yet. Something had happened between them, something he couldn't explain, and it didn't feel like something the military should touch. He needed to understand it first. He checked the pod's systems again. Still no signal. The antenna was damaged, and the backup battery was low. He had maybe 2 days of power left. Enough time to think. Enough time to find her again. He grabbed his gear, stuffed a few supplies in a bag, and headed toward the spot where she first appeared. His heart beat faster with every step. The forest seemed to recognize him now. The leaves moved as he passed. The air grew warmer. Something pulled him forward. Then he saw a shallow circle in the ground, filled with soft feathers, stones, and bits of glowing bark. A nest. In the center lay something half buried. Jace approached carefully, crouched down, and brushed away the moss. It wasn't a rock. It was smooth, round, warm. An egg. A massive, glowing egg. His breath caught in his throat. This couldn't be real. But it was. It pulsed gently, as if alive. He reached out and placed his hand on it. Instantly, he felt something, a gentle beat, like a heartbeat, and behind it, something stronger. A connection. Images flooded his mind. The feathered girl, flying high over storm clouds, her people. Hidden in caves, a ritual, a circle of elders, her face, looking down at him with something between sorrow and hope. Then the night in the pod. Her hand on his chest, a golden spark traveling from her body into his. The vision faded, and Jace stumbled back, gasping. She used him, but not in a cruel way. She chose him. His hands shook as he looked at the egg again. Was it his? No, that was impossible, completely insane. But the warmth in his chest said otherwise. He sat beside the nest, trying to think. How was this possible? Could human DNA even mix with something like her? Was this some alien method of reproduction? Some ancient way to continue a dying species? And why him? He looked around. The forest was still, watching. He could feel it. He wasn't alone. He was never alone. He decided to hide the egg. If anyone else found it, any human, they'd take it, study it, maybe even destroy it. He couldn't let that happen. Not after what she showed him. Not after what they shared. He gathered branches, leaves, and moss, covering the nest carefully. Then he marked the trees around it with tiny symbols only he would recognize, just in case. As he turned to leave, he heard a soft rustle above. He looked up. There she was, perched high in the trees, her wings folded, her eyes glowing softly in the green sunlight. She watched him silently, no anger, no fear, just watching. He didn't speak. He just nodded. She nodded back. Then, without a sound, she flew away. He walked back to the pod, his mind racing. Everything had changed. He was no longer just a soldier, no longer just a survivor. He was something more now. That night, he couldn't sleep. He lay in the pod, staring at the metal ceiling, listening to the distant sounds of wings above the forest. The glow on his chest had grown stronger. He felt it every time he closed his eyes, a soft thump, like another heartbeat. The egg was real. She was real. And whatever was inside that egg, it was coming. Jace didn't know what it would become, but deep down, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. That responsibility. Not for Earth. Not for duty. But for life. A life that had begun because of one night with a girl who wasn't human and one decision. that couldn't be undone. The rain came fast that morning, falling in thick, heavy sheets. Jace stood under a broad, mossy leaf, staring at the place where he buried the egg. The soil was wet now, dark and soft, but the shape beneath it was still there, round and faintly glowing, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. It hadn't changed in size, but something about it felt heavier, more alive. He placed his hand over it again. The warmth was stronger. He stepped back, wiping the rain from his face, and froze. There were footprints near the nest. Not his. 3 toes, sharp, deep in the mud. He reached for his weapon. It wasn't the feathered girl. These prints were larger. He crouched low, inspecting the tracks. They came from the east and circled the egg twice. Then they vanished into the trees. Whatever had been here was watching, just like him. He knew he couldn't stay by the nest all day. He had to protect it, but the pods' systems were dying. If he didn't fix the antenna, he'd lose all contact, even with the satellite beacon. He marked the spot again with 2 extra symbols this time, just in case something tried to confuse him. By the time he returned to the crash site, the rain had stopped. The pod's lights flickered weakly. He crawled on top, unscrewed the hatch covering the antenna, and pulled out the broken cables. He had only 1 repair kit. No second chance. As he worked, he kept glancing toward the forest, toward where the egg was hidden. He had a bad feeling. Half an hour later, the antenna sparked back to life. A small signal blinked on his wristpad, weak, but working. He uploaded a scrambled message, nothing detailed. Just his name, location, and the code for minor injury, awaiting pickup. He couldn't tell them the truth. Not yet. As he tightened the last bolt, something flew past his head. He ducked, rolling off the pod and drawing his weapon. A feather bright red landed beside him. Red, not like hers. Jace ran. He moved fast through the trees, leaping over roots and ducking under vines, his boots slipping on the wet ground. When he reached the nest, his heart dropped. The soil was torn open, the leaves scattered, the egg exposed, still there, still glowing, but someone had touched it. He knelt beside it. Mud clung to the shell, smeared across the golden light. A thin crack ran along one side. It was hatching, no too early. He didn't understand. Was it damaged? Had the creature that left those prints done something to it? He reached out, but before he could touch it, a voice echoed from behind. "You shouldn't be here." Human. Jace turned fast, gun raised. A tall alien stepped from the trees, not feathered like the girl, but scaled, dark, and broad-shouldered. His eyes burned orange, and a bone-like blades extended from his wrists. Jace didn't lower the weapon. Step back. The alien hissed, "That egg belongs to my kind. You were only used for the seed." Jace's blood ran cold. "What are you talking about? She is one of the last. Her kind is dying. You are nothing but a vessel, a tool." Jace fired a warning shot into the ground. "Say that again, I dare you." The alien snarled, but didn't move. She disobeyed the old code. Now she will face the price. From the sky, wings thundered. She dropped between them like lightning. Her wings spread wide, feathers glowing. Like fire, she stood in front of the egg, between Jace and the stranger. Her eyes blazed with fury. The male alien spoke in their language, harsh and fast. She responded with sharp clicks and pulses of light from her feathers. Jace didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. She was protecting the egg, protecting him. The male stepped back slowly. Then, without another word, he vanished into the trees. She turned to Jace, her breathing heavy, her eyes softening. She reached out and touched his face. He didn't flinch this time. "You're in danger," he whispered. She nodded. Then the egg cracked louder. Both of them turned. A long, golden line split across the shell. Light poured from within. The ground around them shimmered. Jace held his breath. A tiny beak pushed through the crack, followed by a glowing, feathered head. The creature blinked up at them, small, beautiful, and glowing softly like its mother. It chirped, then reached toward Jace, not the girl. He dropped to his knees. The little being crawled out slowly, wobbling on thin legs, and leaned against him. The girl knelt beside them, watching silently. Jace didn't move, didn't speak, because in that moment, he knew The egg wasn't just part of her, it was part of him too. The hatchling didn't cry, didn't panic, didn't run. It simply pressed itself against Jace's chest, tiny arms curling around his jacket. Its feathers were still damp, glowing with soft golden light. Jace felt its warmth, its small heartbeat, and something deeper, something that connected them. He hadn't known what to expect from a half-human, half-alien being, but he didn't expect this overwhelming sense of belonging. The feathered girl watched silently beside him, her wings folded tightly. Her expression had changed. She looked calm, proud, yet uncertain. Jace glanced at her, but she didn't meet his eyes. She placed a hand gently on the hatchling's head, and it chirped softly, recognizing her too. They sat like that for minutes, listening to the quiet of the forest. Then the silence broke. Branches snapped nearby. Jace tensed. The girl stood, wings raised slightly, alert. Jace shifted the baby in his arms and reached for his weapon. Another sound came, heavy steps, rushing leaves, not the scaled male from before. This time, more than one. Voices echoed through the trees. Human voices. Jace's heart dropped. He stood, holding the hatchling tight. Through the trees, two soldiers in black scout armor emerged. One had a scanner in his hand, blinking rapidly. The other held a rifle, aimed forward. Their eyes locked onto Jace. Sergeant Vane, the lead soldier, said, surprised. "We received your emergency beacon. You're alive." Jace took a cautious step back. "Stay there." The second soldier lowered his gun slightly. "Sir, you're carrying something. Is that?" The scanner began to beep rapidly. They'd detected the hatchling. Jace looked at the feathered girl. She stood like a statue, her eyes narrowing. "She's not hostile," Jace said quickly. "And neither is the child." "Child?" The first soldier stepped closer. What are you talking about?" "It's mine," Jace said carefully. "Ours." The soldiers froze. The silence between them stretched long and uncomfortable. "That's not possible." The second one muttered. Jace didn't respond. He didn't need to explain. "Not now. We need to take it in," the first soldier said. "This is a first contact. Event, maybe even a new species. High Command needs to see this." Jace backed up another step. "It's not going anywhere. You don't understand what this is. We understand that Command will want answers. Then they can talk." To me, a soft chirp came from the hatchling. It looked up at Jace, blinking slowly. The soldiers stared, unsure whether to feel wonder or fear. The scanner beeped again, louder now. Then another voice crackled through their comms. "Unit Delta. Respond. Energy spike detected in your area. Prepare for extraction. Energy spike." Jace repeated. Suddenly the ground beneath them rumbled. The feathered girl looked up. A humming sound filled the air, low and rising fast. From above, a massive shadow passed over the treetops. The soldiers turned, aiming their weapons upward. A ship, not human. The scaled alien was back, and this time, he brought his kind. The trees burst open as a sleek, dark vessel descended into the clearing. Its hull shimmered like black glass, and tendrils of light reached toward the nest. The air cracked with pressure. The feathered girl stepped between the egg shards and the ship, her wings spreading wide. Three tall figures leapt down from the ramp, all scaled, armored, and armed. Jace raised his weapon, hatchling still in one arm. The soldiers stepped back, unsure whether to retreat or engage. The scaled leader stepped forward and pointed directly at the baby. "That child belongs to our blood." Jace shook his head. "He belongs to no one but himself." The alien's eyes narrowed. "It was made with stolen life. You were used. It must be returned." The feathered girl spoke suddenly, voice firm and clear. The words were in her language, but her tone made the message obvious. She would not let them take the hatchling. The scaled leader growled. He lunged. Jace fired. The shot struck the ground in front of the alien's feet. "Try it," Jace said coldly. "I swear I'll fight you all." The baby chirped again, and a sudden burst of light pulsed from its tiny body. The glow forced everyone to stumble back. Leaves caught in the blast scattered like sparks. The feathered girl's feathers shone even brighter in response, her hands reaching for the baby as if guiding the light. The scaled aliens stepped back, clearly shaken. The leader hissed and turned to his crew. A sharp whistle came from him, and the ship began to rise. "We'll return," he growled. "The child is not safe with you." "Maybe," Jace said, holding the baby close. "But he's safer than with you." The ship vanished into the sky, leaving only broken trees and scorched moss behind. The soldiers stared at Jace in disbelief. "You're going to have to explain all of this," one of them said softly. "I know," Jace replied. He looked down at the hatchling, then at the girl standing beside him. She took his hand, and for the first time, Jace didn't feel lost. He felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. The hatchling wouldn't stop chirping. Its soft feathers had dried overnight, glowing faintly in the dim blue light of the pod. Jace had wrapped it in a survival blanket, but it kept crawling toward him, tugging at his jacket, reaching for the warmth of his chest. Every time he moved an inch away, it squeaked sharp, high-pitched cries that echoed through the cramped cabin. He had held weapons, faced enemy fire, crashed on alien worlds, but nothing had prepared him for this tiny, living piece of both, himself and something not of Earth. The feathered girl sat near the hatch, wings folded neatly, her gaze locked on the hatchling with quiet focus. She hadn't spoken, not in words, but Jace understood her silence. She was waiting, watching him, judging him. He wasn't just a visitor anymore. He was part of something ancient and sacred. And now, others were coming for what they believed belonged to them. Jace's calms blinked red. A direct call from command. He ignored it. They'd seen the satellite footage. They knew something had happened. The two scouts who'd found him had already reported everything, maybe even exaggerated. A human soldier, still alive after weeks alone, found guarding an alien child with wings. It was too big to stay hidden. The hatchling crawled into his lap again and pressed its head into his stomach, glowing slightly with each breath. Its heartbeat was fast to fast. Jace frowned. "It's not just glowing," he said aloud, mostly to himself. "It's burning energy." The girl looked at him. Jace touched the hatchling's back gently. Its feathers shimmered brighter than the day before. "It's growing, too fast." He didn't know what that meant. He didn't know what would happen next. Before he could think further, the outer sensors buzzed. A warning. Movement. 5. Heat signatures. Approaching fast. Jace stood and reached for his weapon. The feathered girl rose too, stepping in front of the pod's door. Her wings shimmered, ready to defend. Then the knock came. 3 sharp raps. Human. Jace opened the hatch carefully. A familiar face appeared. Lieutenant Grant. Tall, broad-shouldered, eyes sharp with suspicion. "We need to talk," he said, stepping forward without waiting for an invitation. Behind him were 4 more soldiers, all armed. Jace blocked his path. "Say it from there." Grant gave a dry smile. "Don't be dramatic, Sergeant. You're in possession of the most valuable biological specimen in the known quadrant. I'm here to escort it safely to base." "It's not a specimen," Jace snapped. "It's a child." Grant's eyes flicked toward the glowing bundle behind Jace. "A child created without protocol, with alien DNA. That makes it military property, not family." Jace's hand tightened around his rifle. "Say that again. I dare you." Grant raised both hands. "Easy, Sergeant. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to follow orders. And right now, Command wants that hybrid under full analysis. She'll never let you take him," Jace said, nodding toward the girl, who was now fully blocking the child with her wings. Grant glanced at her, then back to Jace. "You're choosing her over your own kind. I'm choosing what's right." Grant's smile vanished. He looked at the other soldiers. "Contain them. Don't shoot unless she attacks." 2 soldiers stepped forward, tranquilizer guns in hand. The hatchling screamed. Its wings opened for the first time, small, golden, but trembling with power. Light exploded from its feathers, knocking everyone outside the pod to their knees. The pod shook, the lights inside flickered, and Jace felt the heat rising. The girl stepped forward, lifting the hatchling into her arms. She looked at Jace, one sharp, decisive glance, and then shot through the roof of the pod, her wings tearing the metal apart as she vanished into the sky. "No." Jace tried to follow, but the blast of air knocked him back. "Target is escaping." Grant shouted. "Track that light signature." The soldiers scrambled, chasing with scanners and comms buzzing. Jace ran out after them, his lungs burning. The girl flew low between the trees, the hatchling cradled against her chest, its wings pulsing with each heartbeat. The forest glowed behind her as if the baby's energy was waking the planet itself. Suddenly, one of the soldiers fired. A net arched through the air. It struck her left wing. She screamed. They crashed through the trees, both her and the hatchling, tumbling to the ground. Jace reached them first. The girl lay in the dirt, feathers torn, blood trickling from her arm. But she was still holding the baby, shielding it with her body. Jace fell to his knees beside her. "You're okay, you're okay." The hatchling chirped weakly. Its glow had dimmed. He looked up. The soldiers were surrounding them now. Grant aimed his rifle. "Stand down, Sergeant. It's over." Jace stood slowly, rage boiling through him. "No, it's just beginning." He raised his weapon and pointed it at Grant. Behind him, the hatchling's glow returned, and then it started to rise into the air on its own. The hatchling floated upward, wings fully spread for the first time. Its small body shimmered with golden energy, brighter than anything the forest had ever seen. Leaves lifted into the air. Dust trembled on the ground. Every human soldier froze, staring up at the glowing figure as if time itself had stopped. Jace stood motionless, caught between awe and fear. He had no idea how the child was doing this, but he could feel that this wasn't just flight. This was power, ancient power, untamed and growing. The feathered girl lay wounded on the forest floor, her breath shallow, but her eyes locked on. Her child. She didn't move, didn't panic. She knew this was meant to happen. Her hands rested on her chest, wings twitching slightly, as if whispering a silent prayer. The hatchling pulsed again. Grant dropped his weapon. Not on purpose, it was ripped from his hands by a sudden gust of energy. The metal snapped in half before it even touched the ground. "What is this thing?" he shouted over the hum in the air. Jace didn't answer. He didn't know how to explain what he felt inside. His chest burned not with pain, but with a deep, living warmth, like part of his soul had climbed out of him and taken shape in the sky. The hatchling opened. Its eyes, they were golden, deep, and not entirely innocent anymore. Something was changing fast. Then the voice came, not from the girl, not from the forest, from the hatchling. Not words, thoughts, clear, direct, and loud in every mind standing there. "I am not a weapon." Jace stumbled back. His ears hadn't heard it, but his mind had. It echoed like a bell through his skull. Grant fell to his knees, eyes wide. The other soldiers stood frozen, mouths slightly open, unable to speak. The hatchling turned its gaze toward the pod. A beam of light shot from its chest, striking the broken antenna. In seconds, the metal reformed, sparking back to life. The signal tower blinked green. Repairs made by thought. The girl coughed behind Jace. He rushed to her side, cradling her carefully. "You need help," he whispered. She looked at him and shook her head softly, pressing one hand to his chest again, right where she had touched him that first night. Her fingers trembled, leaving behind a small trail of gold light. Her feathers were duller now. The hatchling descended slowly, its wings folding as it landed beside her. It rested its head against her cheek, chirping softly, as if calling for her to stay. She smiled weakly. Jace's eyes stung. Grant finally stood again, pale and shaken. "We need to contain this now. This isn't natural. This is beyond protocol." "Protocol doesn't apply anymore," Jace said, still holding the girl. "This isn't just some hybrid. He's something new, something we don't understand. And if you try to lock him in a cage, you won't live long enough to explain why. I have orders." "Then break them." The hatchling turned to Grant. Another pulse of thought echoed in his head. "Hurt my mother again, and you'll never find peace." Grant dropped to the ground again, trembling. The child stepped closer to its mother, laying one glowing hand on her chest. Then the forest responded. Trees lit up, bark pulsing with light. The ground shimmered, grass twisting toward the girl. Roots emerged from beneath her body, wrapping around her gently, not to harm, but to lift. She was cradled by the forest itself. The glow spread across her skin, her wounds sealed, her eyes opened wider, and her feathers shimmered once more. She sat up slowly, breathing deeply. The hatchling chirped again, curling into her arms. Jace exhaled, not realizing he'd been holding his breath. The girl looked at him with something new in her gaze, gratitude. She reached out and touched his face. This time, no visions, no confusion, just warmth, real, deep, and full of understanding. "You saved her," he said softly. The hatchling blinked. "She gave me life. You gave me purpose." One of the soldiers backed away slowly. "Sir, this child, it talks in our heads." "It's not a thing," Jace replied. "It's someone." A long silence followed. Finally, Grant stood. He didn't reach for a weapon this time. He looked at Jace like he'd never seen him before. "What do we do now?" Jace looked at the hatchling, then the girl, then the sky. "They're not ours to command, but we can protect them." "For how long?" "As long as it takes." The girl stood, wings unfolding once more. The child perched on her shoulder like a glowing guardian. She looked at Jace, then took his hand again. He understood. The next step wasn't up to Earth. It was up to them, together. The sky above the forest had changed. It no longer looked soft and green, it burned with color. Streaks of gold and deep violet cutting through the clouds. The trees stood taller, their leaves glowing faintly as if responding to the energy in the air. Something ancient had awakened, something that had slept for centuries under soil and silence. Jace walked behind the feathered girl, her hands still gently wrapped around his. The hatchling sat on her shoulder, quiet and alert, its golden feathers fluttering in the breeze. It looked around like it was memorizing everything, every tree, every bird, every scent. This wasn't just its birthplace, it was its world now. The soldiers followed from a distance, silent and uneasy. None of them spoke, since the child's voice echoed inside their heads. Even Grant had lowered his eyes, humbled in a way no superior officer ever expected to be. He hadn't received new orders. There weren't any. The signal tower was silent now. High Command had gone dark, probably watching through satellites, trying to decide whether to interfere or let it unfold. But they were already too late. The feathered girl led them to a cliff high, steep, and overlooking the wide valley below. What they saw made every soldier stop and stare. More nests, dozens of them, some cracked open, some glowing softly, others surrounded by feathers and soft moss, waiting. And not just nests, others like her, feathered beings, young and old, hidden in the trees, on ledges, or perched high in the cliffs. They'd been watching, waiting, not extinct, just forgotten, just hiding. The girl stepped to the edge and raised her arms. A sound rose deep and soft, like wind singing through stone. The hatchling joined in, chirping once, then again. A wave of light pulsed from its body. The hidden ones emerged fully now, wings spread, eyes glowing, dozens of them, maybe more. They didn't rush, they didn't speak. They simply bowed their heads first to the child, then to Jace. He didn't move. He didn't know what to say. He wasn't sure what he had become to them. Then one of the elders stepped forward, taller than the others, feathers dark blue and silver, eyes old and wise. He touched the ground in front of Jace, kneeling slightly. Then he pointed first at the hatchling, then at Jace's chest. A symbol appeared in the air between them, a circle, split by light. Two halves, one glowing white, the other, human, red. It wasn't just a symbol, it was a name, Father of the Featherburn. Jace looked at the child again. It blinked once, slowly, and then, to his shock, it spoke aloud its first real words, soft but clear. Home. Jace knelt, unable to hold the emotion pressing inside his chest. He had come here thinking he'd die alone on a strange world. Instead, he had helped bring life back to an entire species. The girl stood beside him, hand on his shoulder. This wasn't about him anymore. It never was. This was about the choice they made together that one night, strange and unplanned, which created something no war, no science, no command structure could ever explain. Something pure, something alive. The feathered beings gathered around now, a circle, then another. The valley echoed with the soft sound of wings brushing air. The hatchling lifted itself into the air once more, wings strong now, body glowing, brighter with every beat. It hovered above the group, and then it spoke again, this time to everyone. To the sky we return, to the ground we belong. to bloods, one breath, a future shared, a vow, not taught, born. Then the ground rumbled again. Jace looked up, far above the clouds. A human ship had arrived, sleek, massive, loaded with weapons. Too many antennas, too many intentions. A shadow passed over the valley. Grant raised his comm and said, "They're here, full military presence. Dropships coming in." Jace turned to the girl. "They'll take him. They'll take all of you if we don't stop them." She looked up calmly, eyes steady, no fear. Then she nodded. The hatchling soared high, faster than lightning, vanishing into the clouds. Seconds later, the ship's engines began to flicker. One by one, lights went dark across its surface. It didn't fall. It just stopped moving. Then it slowly turned and left. No shots fired. No orders spoken. Just silence. The hatchling returned minutes later, wings glowing like fire, eyes dim with exhaustion. It dropped into Jace's arms and slept. Jace cradled it carefully. The girl touched his cheek again. Her feathers sparkled gently in the dying light. Round them, her people began to sing, not with words, but in soft melodies, felt more than heard. Jace sat down among them, the child resting against his chest, the girl beside him. He didn't need to go back. He had already found his future. Not in command, not in survival, but in something far more powerful. A single night, a single choice, and a child that would change the stars forever.